I was raised in Los Angeles at a very young age. My mom came and my dad from Mexico, Guadalajara, back in 1989, wanting to have el sueño americano. I remember crossing through that border and there was no wall. We were in a pickup truck and we ended up in LA. I started my life 3 years old and went to pre-K, kinders, middle school. Every stage of my childhood was from Los Angeles. And then we ended up in high school. But prior to that, back in 97, we had an immigration case that unfortunately the lawyers did something bad and my parents ended up where the judge had ordered a deportation for us. The judge did state that we could have sued them since it was negligence from those lawyers for not showing up. So I always thought I was from the famous Estados Unidos. And that's where I feel that I'm from. But unfortunately, after this order of deportation and my parents started to say that I had to start saying things and I couldn't tell people things, and that's when everything got more confusing. And even though we had a permit, I actually had a license thanks to my high school, and if I grew up, no one even knew I was American or not. I feel my Mexican roots as well, and I love my Mexican roots, but at the end, I still feel American. I worked in the famous Santee Alleys, also known as Los Callejones, and the only reason why I worked there was because I knew I couldn't work. And I did a lot of stuff that every hardworking immigrant does. And I still kept going to school. I thank God that a place called the Este Los Angeles Occupational Center accepted me, and I got certified as cosmetologist and administrative assistant. And that certification has led me into a lot of good things now. And as time passed, we couldn't ever appeal. So we just had to accept that we had a order of deportation. So in 2005, after graduating high school, I had my daughter. Her name's Haley Ortega. And 2 years later, we started having problems, her father and I, and then we just separated. I was a single mom. I had to work. I had to do a lot of things, and yet I still didn't have a document. I had support from all my family. We're a big family, and we were always together, and we're still together. La familia nunca se olvida y nunca te deja atrás. And they were always there. They took care of my daughter while I went to school, while I kept working under the table as well, because there was things that couldn't get done. I felt I was living like a fugitive life, like I was hiding from someone, and that was just like the hardest thing to understand. I remember my dad always telling me, ay, Tania, no te metas en problemas, pórtate bien, pero no lo entiendes, no lo asimilas. So, I still kept working. I did nails. I did anything that I could have to just keep going for my kid, to support her and have everything for her, until unfortunately that order of deportation came into sense. And I thank God a year before that, in 2009, I took her father to court because we weren't getting anything clear. So I said that I wanted him to be responsible for his child. I don't think he ever knew that I was undocumented or pretty much a fugitive hiding from immigration, because I never told him. I was never specific to anyone about my status. I think a lot of people still till now don't even know my situation. Just the fact of your parents telling you, es mejor que no les digas nada porque pues algo siempre nos puede pasar. Porque ellos estaban en un caso muy difícil donde tenían 2 hijos americanos y 2 hijas mexicanas. Entonces yo entendía que nos iban a separar. Entonces todos nos cuidábamos y tratábamos de estar bien para mis hermanos que estaban chiquitos en ese tiempo. Entonces, thank God, I got 50-50 custody and everything was just working fine until April 6th. I get deported. I made a mistake fighting with someone, and in the US, people tend to call the police when they hear people screaming and yelling. And the cops came over my house, and I remember a white guy. He was bald. I just remember his shiny bald head, and him asking me for my social security. And I showed him my social, and in fact on my social security it said I had to show him my permit. And so that's when it came to, where's your permit? And I said it's expired. And I got detained for like 2 days. The fact that I just stood there from like a Friday to like a Monday was pretty horrific, because I didn't know when I was gonna get out. And then the police officers would tell me, no one's putting any charges on you. By Monday you should get out. But that Monday comes and everyone was getting out, and I never went home. I got detained by ICE, and the lady that came to pick me up just said, where's Jose Mendoza? And then I said, I don't know. She said that they've been looking for him for a long time and they didn't know his whereabouts. And it was just terrific, because she made it seem like my dad was some type of criminal, and I didn't want to be the reason of him to get deported. So I said, no, I don't know. I haven't lived with them since I was 18. And so she just arrested me, and so they drive me to the Santana detention center, and there I didn't even last more than 5 hours. So the lady just said, okay, well, we're just gonna fingerprint you. And she showed me a paper, and she said, this is your identity. I just need you to sign this. So I assumed that I was signing my identity, but in reality I was signing my way out. So she lied to me.